June is Men's Health Awareness Month, a time to shine a spotlight on the health challenges many men face but often ignore.
That's right. Our 9 health expert, Dr. Kohli, is joining us to help explain all of this. Dr. Kohli, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
You don't get this chance too often. What do you want to say to all men out there this morning?
I want to say wake up and pay attention, because we spend so much time talking about women's health. We don't realize that the men in our lives actually are going to die on average 5 years earlier than women. Wow. And a lot of this is due to lack of earlier detection. So there's this culture and stigma around men's health, and men are macho and they don't think about their health as often. So this is the time to really think about all the men in your lives, or yourself in your case, and really make sure you're paying attention to your health.
I feel like Jordan's really good at this, but most men aren't. And like you said, there's this stigma of like, I'm fine, I'm healthy, nothing can hurt me. Why is that even around?
Yeah, I think it's mostly a cultural artifact, but I think men are sort of taught from very young age, boys, to be tough, to be brave.
Rub some dirt in it.
Yes,
yeah.
And acknowledging that you might have a vulnerability, a medical illness, or even screening, for example, is considered less macho in some ways. Also, women, for example, are plugged into their OBGYN. So they go to the gynecologist, they get sort of regular care, they're seeing a doctor on a regular basis. For most men, they don't get preventive care because they don't see a doctor until something goes wrong. And that's really the narrative that we have to turn on its head. And finally, men actually struggle with more mental health than women. And they struggle more silently because, again, there's not only a stigma around it, there's even a lack of recognition. Oftentimes men don't even know when they're dealing with anxiety, depression, or other types of fears.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all think of at least one person in our life that really struggles with this. One thing I think we are seeing is a little bit of a culture shift now for especially men with kids, that they say, I want to be healthier so I can be around longer for my kids. That's the best gift I can give them. For the other people that don't have that, what is something we can do to encourage everyone to get in and check out?
I think using the kids is a great way to do it, using the partner, but normalizing healthcare, making it cool, making it trendy, making it something friends challenge each other to do. Hey, I went to the doctor, I got my cholesterol,
Totally.
This is what it showed. And the idea here is to start checking in your 20s and 30s, because most of the times we're reactive. We wait till our 60s till we have that heart attack, our 70s till we have that stroke, and then it's too late. The horse is out of the barn. So really starting to teach men early on, college and in their 20s, that talking about healthcare is a cool thing, just like you do, Jordan. I think you're very good at this.
Maybe share a little too much sometimes about my visits.
It's great. So what tests should men be getting at like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and beyond?
Yep. So if you're under the age of 40, and you really need to think about your metabolic health, so that's your cholesterol, your weight, your blood pressure, diabetes, making sure you're exercising and sleeping enough. You also need to think about testicular cancer, because that peaks in young men. Between 40 and 60, we start to think about prostate cancer. So that's a PSA, a blood test. Colon cancer, we've talked about this before, which is a colonoscopy. And then also the cholesterols, because now you start becoming middle-aged. So your cholesterol, your kidney function, all that starts going downhill. And then over the age of 60, you start to think more about blood vessel disease. You think about aneurysm screening, you think about diabetes, you think about heart disease, and start screening for many of those.
One thing I want to encourage everybody too, because I think when you leave your parents' home, they always have you doing checkups. You play sports, you get physicals every year. Then you become an adult and you have to find your own primary care doctor. And I think that's a big part of it, is we go so long, oftentimes, without actually having a doctor. How can we make that process easier for young men out there to do so?
I think it's important to do it when you're healthy, because so many times I get patients, men, coming into my office with crushing chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitations, dizziness, some awful symptom, and they haven't been seen for years, and they don't have anyone. I call the primary care doctor the captain of the ship or the director of the orchestra. They don't have a director of their orchestra, so they're sort of left to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
So really thinking about getting established with someone that's going to be a resource, your coach, so to speak, so that you can use them when you're healthy, but more importantly, when you're sick, they can help you get connected with resources a lot faster.
Last question real quick. I mean, you're a cardiologist. We got to talk about heart disease being the #1 killer of men. How do men take care of their heart health?
It's simple. You have to have a blood test to look for cholesterol, blood sugar. You check your blood pressure. You get an X-ray of the heart if you're over 40. It's called a calcium score. And you get a urine test looking for something called urine microalbuminuria, and a blood test called lipoproteinase. So just 4 or 5 simple tests, urine, blood, X-ray, you can get a really good sense of what your heart disease risk is and how you can take control of your heart health so that you can get ahead of it, because 80% of heart attacks and strokes are preventable.
All right, well, good to know. We're challenging everybody out there this morning. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And you can find all of Dr. Kohli's appearances at 9news.com/Dr. Kohli.